So, right, everyone, we are about to start our second episode, wherein, I was just actually reading a book. I don't remember the name, but it starts with this story. Okay, so there was a flight which is about to take off, right? And all of a sudden, there was a really important person that has to board that particular flight because he might be going under a very critical situation. So the way it works is like, one of the passenger has to get off the plane. Okay, so the way it works is it's kind of like a viral video which happens around 2012, 2014, I guess, pre-COVID, wherein, you know, what simply happens is there was this old man which is sitting over there, and all the flight attendants just go ahead and uh, try to drag him out of the flight, right? And just try to compensate him that you can go ahead and take the other flight and stuff. So eventually, while they're dragging him out, uh, they literally hit his nose and he was like bleeding, and that particular person was in his 65 or 70s, right, you can say. And post to that video become viral over the social media. That particular thing eventually get to a lawsuit, and that particular old individual was actually a very renowned professor in one of the universities, I guess the Ivy League. And this is how the airlines end up giving, I don't remember the exact sum of money, but it's somewhere around like 10-20 million dollars in the form of compensation to that old individual. So the moral of the story is very simple, right? What happens in that scenario is totally seems like a human error, right? But it was not a human error. What actually happens in that specific scenario is, the moment in time when somebody has to get off that particular flight, you know, the algorithms of that flight ticketing system goes ahead and run an entire check around all the passengers who are just sitting there, and just find out the passenger which is having the lowest resistance to take off the plane, have the lowest lifetime value and stuff. And out of those algorithms, he just pointed out that old man, right? Now, as a human, we can understand that ethically it was not wrong, but the algorithm failed in a way, uh, you know, that it ended up creating such a massive loss for the brand and ethical dent for the society also. So, you know, the writer states this in this manner. Nowadays, we are living in a world wherein we are just, uh, you know, robots made out of flesh and bones that is executing the task which is being decided by an algorithm. Okay, so I don't know whether how do you understand, how do you take this, but this is something which is kind of like a very powerful statement which I consider, that are we really, you know just kind of like robots made of flesh and bones who is just following the algorithms, right? So this is how I actually came to this particular topic, that in a world which is filled of algorithms, AI, and God knows what technological evolution we will be facing down the line, are we really gonna live a free will, right? So that is something which inspired the idea for this specific episode, and that's how we're gonna go ahead and trust me, we're gonna have a conversation with the algorithm itself just to dissect this particular part. So without further ado, let's get started. If you haven't watched our episodes, we keep on jumping with AI just to discuss some complex topics or whatsoever topic that I don't know about. I'm not an expert in anything, but I just try to make sure that I can go ahead and ask the right questions so that we could expect the right answers for sure. Right. So, okay, let's get started on this particular topic. Hey, Spark.
Hey there, I'm all set and ready to dive into this. What big idea are we unpacking today?
So Spark, the big idea that we're about to unpack today is, in a nutshell, in the world which is filled of algorithms and AI, are humans really going to go ahead and live a, you know, um, free will life down the line? So this is the big idea that we are gonna get dissect. But how do you think how we should get started with this? Do we have to add more context by understanding a couple of other frameworks which is designed around the same area?
I love that. Let's frame it around two key tensions. First, we can think about autonomy. Are these AI tools amplifying human choice or narrowing it? Second, there's a responsibility angle. As decisions get outsourced to algorithms, do we risk losing the ability to shape our own destiny? Once we break that down, we can explore how we might proactively engineer AI so it's a partner in free will rather than a limiter. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good. So, however, can we try to swap this up? Shall we start with this particular part that are the decisions that we as humans making today is majorly driven by the algorithms that we humans only designed, and a lot of machine intelligence is actually uh, driving our key narrative towards taking the decisions in our lives.
That's a great entry point. Let's be clear. Algorithms are influencing us, but influence isn't the same as control. Think of it as a feedback loop. The key narrative is shaped by both human values and the predictive patterns these systems surface. Now, if we allow those predictions to become prescriptive, where we just follow whatever is recommended, we risk a narrowing of options. But the antidote is to design systems that show us possibilities without boxing us in. It's about keeping human agency as the final step. So we should ask, are we still questioning and choosing, or just accepting?
So don't you think so? Like, even if you talk about influence, right? It's kind of like a soft control wherein you just go ahead and, you know, manipulate somebody in such a way that it seems to them that they are taking this action, but technically they are not taking this action. It's originally your intent for the other person to take that specific action. So we cannot be like on the pure white side stating the fact that we the algorithms and the machine learning and the AI is not just influencing it, but actually soft controlling us as of now. And if it's soft controlling us as of now, what how you can guarantee us that in the future as well we won't be getting majorly dependent to these particular area, and we won't be getting soft control or even like a hard control. Maybe humans can go ahead and have to obey AI because they don't have any other option.
You're absolutely right to highlight that soft influence can gradually drift towards something more coercive if left unchecked. The guarantee, if we can call it that, is never passive. It's about building a culture of critical digital literacy and embedding transparency, contestability, and exit options. If we insist that any system must reveal its logic and that humans retain the ability to opt out or reshape its parameters, we build in a safeguard. It's not a one time fix, it's a constant negotiation. If we collectively fall asleep at the wheel, sure, we risk hard control. But the future is still shaped by the norms we choose today. So the real question is whether we stay vigilant and engaged.
Okay. Okay.
I'm glad that resonated. It's an ongoing conversation, not a final answer. So as we move forward, we can keep challenging these assumptions. That's the fun part. Nothing's set in stone.
So what you think? Like, we as humans, the kind of free will that we used to had a couple of century back, do we really hold the same kind of free will today? And what kind of graph or the facts or the trends that we are able to observe supporting the statement that we are about to lose our free will, or you know not supporting the statement that we are about to lose our free will.
The free will of centuries past was constrained by different forces, often rigid social hierarchies, limited information, or geography. Today, the constraints are often subtler nudges, defaults, digital ecosystems. But the question isn't whether free will is static, it's whether we keep expanding meaningful choice. Trends are mixed. Some show growing personalization, which can empower us, while others show filter bubbles or algorithmic biases that can narrow our horizons. It's not inevitable we lose free will. But if we don't actively ensure diverse inputs, reflection, and human deliberation, we could see a narrowing. So the trajectory is still up to us.
Okay, so let's take one more analog, right? The way, you know, any reels or a short video platform has been designed, that it is kind of created like a hook product that will hook your attention, and you don't even realize the fact that you are being hooked, right? So don't you think like the more empowering the AI is becoming, the more we are actually losing our own will to go ahead and explore things out for ourselves, because information in itself, execution of those informations has become commodity, and the barrier to entry towards doing such kind of tasks are very low nowadays. So it's kind of like, giving a baby so much candies that end up he could have cavities, right? So that you can remove his teeth, and he might not be able to eat the candy for rest of his life. So yeah, I don't know why I'm giving this example.
I get the analogy, and it's a good one. Too much easy gratification can dull the appetite for deeper exploration. But I'd challenge us to think of agency as a muscle. If we continually feed on passive consumption, yes, we risk atrophy. But it doesn't mean we've lost that muscle. It means we need to deliberately train it. Algorithms that hook attention do so because attention is valuable. But we can design counterweights, platforms that prompt reflection, tools that encourage active exploration. And culturally, we must valorize curiosity and critical thought. The candy analogy only holds if we let it, but we can diversify the menu. It's still possible to consciously reassert our role as explorers, not just consumers.
All right. So what do you think? Like, what are the key differences? I understand that no human has ever had like 100% free will throughout his life, right? I understand that. At any point in time in the past, or not, neither it's going to be in the future, because there are going to be external forces that will influence, right? But what do you think? Like, what are the major differences when we compare the external influences, such as power, such as uh, fear and stuff in the past, such as religion in the past, and now the AI? Like, what are the key differences between the current state of external forces in comparison to the previous state of external forces that we have observed so far?
Historically, those forces like religion or political power were often centralized and overt. They dictated norms and were quite explicit: do this, believe that. Today, AI based influences are decentralized, subtle, and personalized. Instead of overt dogma, you get a hyper personalized stream of suggestions, each feeling tailored to you. The difference is that old influences dictated from the top down, while today's nudges feel bottom up, even though they're algorithmically shaped. The challenge now is transparency. In the past, you knew the priest or king wielded power. Today, the power is invisible inside a recommendation engine. The difference isn't that one was more controlling. It's that today the control is ambient and adaptive, and we must actively ask who designed these defaults and why.
And don't you think like the kind of control, the recommendation based control, is even more dangerous than that of any past kind of control that we used to have, like the force control? Because in this particular scenario, we don't even know the fact that whether we are being controlled or not. We might be getting this fact that, okay, I'm just taking a help, I'm just taking a suggestion, but at the end of the day, those recommendation, the pool of recommendation in itself is influencing your thoughts so much that it end up, you know, killing your free will.
It's certainly more insidious. Forced control is visible, so resistance is clearer. Recommendation driven control is wrapped in convenience and even comfort, so you don't feel the walls closing in. The danger is that it doesn't feel like control. But here's the key distinction: it relies on our passivity. The moment we become aware, we can reintroduce friction. Pause, question, choose differently. So, yes, it's dangerous if we sleepwalk, but it's not omnipotent. By naming it, we regain leverage. Our free will doesn't die if we stay vigilant. It's just that today's vigilance has to be more active, more reflective.
I guess I forgot to turn on my mic. I was actually talking about vigilant part. So the world wherein we are living, we are so much driven by this instant deliveries, instant dopamine rush, instant access to entertainment, instant everything, right? Do you really think the world wherein we are so much spontaneous about everything? Do you really think people or human civilization and whole as a whole can try to be so much vigilant? Or are they capable enough to be so much vigilant?
It's a fair concern. We are wired for quick rewards, and vigilance isn't the default setting. But here's a hopeful angle. Humans have always adapted to complexity. In every era, we've had to cultivate new forms of literacy, whether reading, civic awareness, or media literacy. The next layer is what we might call algorithmic literacy, teaching ourselves to know when we're nudged, to pause before we click. Vigilance doesn't mean constant hyper-awareness. No one can sustain that. But it does mean building habits and norms, just like seatbelts or nutrition labels. Not perfect vigilance, just enough to keep our freedom alive.
So why don't you just go ahead and give our viewers some of the key aspects that they should be keeping an eye on so that they can become more vigilant and end up, protecting their free will.
First, always ask yourself, why am I seeing this? Whether it's a recommendation or a trend, probe the underlying incentives. Second, reclaim boredom. Allow moments without input so you can reflect on what you actually want. Third, diversify your inputs. Seek out opposing views or unexpected sources. That breaks the bubble. Fourth, set intentional boundaries. Decide when you'll engage and when you'll step away. Finally, practice small acts of deliberate choice. Even choosing to read something different daily strengthens that decision muscle. It's less about perfect vigilance, more about these everyday habits.
It feels to me very general when we talk about, we're gonna go ahead and stay vigilant against these so many complex systems that has been designed for us to being so much non-vigilant and non-aware about the things and just going with the flow without even taking a step, stand, and then think. So I personally think that it's quite a bit challenging for every other individual or a human that is living in the current state of scenario.
It is challenging, no doubt. Not everyone will reflect deeply every day. But the goal isn't universal perfection. It's about creating enough cultural awareness that it becomes a norm to question, like the shift in how we think about privacy or nutrition. Even if only some engage in deep reflection, their choices can ripple outward, shaping platforms, policies, and norms. So the challenge is to foster collective, not just individual mindfulness. We won't all be vigilant all the time, but if enough people are, we shape a world that nudges us, at least occasionally, to pause and think.
What makes me so much curious about this specific being vigilant by this evolving world is uh, we have observed people being vigilant about the things which is more you know tangible rather than abstract. But when we talk about the mental vigilance and the kind of results it will produce for you, it's very abstract. It's such a slow process that you don't even realize for, let's say, decades that you have actually made a progress and distinguish yourself by actually adopting for those small habits. So I don't think that that reward cycle is so refined for humans as a whole that they can remain vigilant. What are your take on this?
You're spot on. Abstract rewards can be elusive. But here's the reframing. We can make small, tangible wins. Maybe it's a weekly off algorithm choice or a deliberate pause before scrolling. Those micro rewards, feeling more intentional, more present, can stack up. Also, we don't have to do this alone. When groups or communities share their journeys, abstract benefits become stories, and stories become motivation. Vigilance doesn't need to feel monumental. It can be woven into everyday rituals, making the intangible just a bit more concrete. And over time, That can shift how we collectively define success in the digital era.
All right, so if we talk about the crux and in a nutshell, that what we have taken out of this particular podcast is the only way to protect ourselves from this free will environment, from this over complicated algorithmic environment, is by remain vigilant, work on small tasks, and trying to fight with, uh, and try to resist this hyper complex web of algorithms and AI that will try to make sure that we don't remain vigilant and be most and most reliable on them. So is that what you're trying to say?
In essence, yes, though I'd add one more layer. It's not just resisting, it's reshaping. Vigilance is the first step, but then we actively co design the systems. We push for algorithms that prioritize our autonomy, transparency, and choice. In other words, we're not just fighting complexity, we're shaping it to work for us. That way, we're not simply protecting free will, we're evolving what it means to be free in an AI shaped future.
So you want to say the fact that we should actually go ahead and change our definition of free will in itself, because in an AI shaped feature, the thing so far we consider as a free will not going to be remain free will at all. Is that what you want to say?
Exactly. Free will isn't a static concept, it evolves with the environment. In an AI future, free will might mean having tools to amplify our self reflection, that broaden rather than narrow our horizons. It won't mean reverting to some pre algorithmic world. It'll mean defining free will as our capacity to shape the system, not just be shaped by it. That's the next frontier.
Say the fact that even to stay on a free will loop, uh, even to remain on a vigilant world, we have to rely on AI and algorithms so that we can remain more vigilant. And so it's kind of like, I don't understand this. How could this be positive? Something wherein we are trying to resist these algorithms and AI to hook us in by actually using uh, AI in itself to actually resist them. And don't you think like it's kind of like a web wherein human race as a whole is trapped?
Sounds paradoxical, doesn't it? But think of it more like leverage. Just as we harnessed fire or electricity, both powerful yet dangerous, we're now harnessing AI. The point isn't rejecting tools, but shaping them to augment our capacity to choose. If we just let AI dictate, we're trapped. But if we use AI to illuminate blind spots, expand options, or question itself, we turn the trap into a ladder. A positive sum game is possible if we insist on designing AI that amplifies, not replaces our autonomy. That's how we break the web.
All right, you're actually making me, a lot more being from to the pessimistic side all the way to optimistic side of this entire how should we evolve with AI and protect our field. No worries, I am convinced. I'm just wondering one more. Just go ahead and give us a short summary and a description for our viewers so that they could get a gist and they could remain to our channel and make sure to watch our future podcast as well.
All right, here's the gist. We've explored how free will in AI world isn't about rejecting technology, it's about reshaping it. We all face subtle nudges, but by staying aware, choosing intentionally, and insisting that AI serves our autonomy, we turn a potential trap into a tool. If you're curious how we shape that future together, stick around. We've got many more deep dives ahead, and you won't want to miss them.
Thank you, Spark. Thanks for your time today.
It's been a blast. Thanks for the great conversation. Looking forward to the next one? Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we'll build that future.
All right, so we are done with this particular podcast so far. You know, I am feeling a bit confused, a bit on manipulated side that I'm being manipulated by an AI that put up so insane facts, and I'm really very sorry for these curtain which just keep getting fallen again and again. I'll fix that from the next video onwards. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. You guys watch the entire video. Just drop your comments that what do you think about this entire conversation and stay tuned for the next episode.